All right, aloha everyone. Welcome to the Hemp Retailer and Distribution Introductory Information Briefing. I'm going to give a couple minutes for people to sign on, and then we will start. All right, looks like we got a bunch of people on now, so we are going to begin the briefing session. Thank you everybody for attending today. So, just a brief introduction. I am Andrew Goff, the Program Manager for the Office of Medical Cannabis Control and Regulation. We also regulate hemp processors and hemp products sold in Hawaii. With me today is Greg Edwards, our hemp compliance expert. Uh, he's a wealth of information. If you have any questions, I'm sure he will be able to get down into the specifics. So the purpose of this briefing, the law has been updated this past legislative session and requires hemp retailers and distributors to now register in the state of Hawaii. We are on track to start at the beginning of January 2026 to open the portal and start registering everybody. We are trying to get ahead of the deadline of January 2026 to make sure everybody knows how to register, what compliance looks like, and how to do this in a smooth manner. So today we are going to go over a pretty high level, just general information about who needs to register, how you are going to do that, and the products that you are currently allowed to sell. We're going to take a look at our website to go over all the guidance information that we currently have up there, and then we'll end with a Q&A session. So if anybody has any questions during any point in time about anything that we're talking about, you can enter in your question in the Q&A. There will not be a live chat on this, but we will get to your questions at the end. And then if we don't get to your question, then you can feel free to email us a specific question later and we'll respond to that. I do want to note at the top of the session that we are not going to cover changes to the allowed products that can be sold in Hawaii, whether that's the form of the product or the THC or cannabinoid level. This round, because we have to implement this so fast, we are focused only on the registration and getting the registration up and running. So we will go over what the current products are, but we aren't in this round going to discuss anything about changing the products. Once the registration is up and running, we can have that discussion and talk about opening things up a little more, or what the product should look like. But this is only on the registration, so keep all questions to that. So getting into the retailer and distributor registration requirements, starting January 1st, 2026. All distributors and retailers of hemp products need to register with DOH OMCCR. That means retailer is anyone that's going to sell to a consumer directly. That's online. That's if you have a physical shop. Anyone that sells to somebody in Hawaii needs to register with us. And a distributor is anybody that sells a product for retail later. So you sell to a retailer to be sold then to a consumer. Those distributors also have to register with us. Now, important aspect of this is the processors. So if you have a hemp processing permit in Hawaii and you are currently creating hemp products, you will get a free registration for all of the levels of registration. You'll get a retailer, so you get a physical retail location, you get a distribution registration so that you can actually go and sell to other retailers. You'll get one website that you can sell out of, and that is all for free. You can add on extra physical locations, extra websites, or temporary events, just like anybody else, but for free as part of your permit, you will get that. And that will be, we're trying to make it as simple as possible. In your permit portal for applying for a permit, there'll be the options all laid out there. So if you want to get a permit or you do have a permit, you can just go in and it'll be as simple as we can make it to add these certificates to your permit. It'll be valid for the life of your permit. So as long as you have a permit, you do have to renew every year, but as long as your permit is valid, you will have all of those certificates and they'll be valid also. Now, if you don't want to be a processor, you just want to sell, you just want to be a store, you can get a retail registration. That'll be $50 for a 5-year registration. So $50 allows you to retail for 5 years. You get a physical retail site and a website. If you just want to be a distributor, if you just want to market and sell to other retailers, you can sign up for that. You can get one physical distribution location and one website. Again, $50 gets you 5 years on the registry. If you just want to do online or be an online retail or be an online distributor, you can also do that. You don't need a physical location. They're all $50 for 5 years. You get one website and you can retail direct to consumer, or you can distribute to retailers here. We also are adding a temporary retail events. So that would be if you have a pop-up, if there's a trade show, some kind of conference, then you can register to retail at those events. I'm going to go over now what this is going to look like. So this is preliminary. We're in beta testing right now for the processor portal. This is basically what it's going to look like. It is subject to change, but we want to give you a heads up on what it looks like and the information that we're going to ask for you to enter in. So this is the online portal. You'll select new hemp business. Again, you have the option to be either a hemp processor, a manufactured hemp product retailer, or a product distributor. There'll be some general questions that you have to ask or answer. Are you attending a temporary event? Are you existing processor? This is the application and the information that you're going to need. Basically, it's the same information you would need for a DCCA business license registration. What's the name of your entity? What's the trade name? Are you organized in Hawaii? If you are, then what's your tax ID? We need the physical location of your retail location or distribution location, so we know that that store is registered to sell out of, and we will need a personal contact. So applicant, physical street address, contact information. We'll ask what the license type is. What's your method of sale? Are the products sold made in Hawaii, or are they imported? And what you intend to sell. So there's a drop-down menu where you can select all of the manufactured hemp products and the categories that you intend to sell. We have an attestation. So this is basically information is correct. You agree to be bound by the Hawaii administrative rules. You understand that there's a fee, and any adjustment to your business has to comply, and you have to get a new registration. Documents, so that any documents that will be required, this is for processors and for retail establishments or distributors. Not all of these will apply to you, but if a document is required to submit, you can upload them here. And for temporary events, so if you are at a physical location, like the Blaisdell for a pop-up or for a convention, you can enter in the temporary event details here, and we'll give you a permit for, or a registration, a certificate of registration for that event. And again, the location of the event. There'll be a processing payment center, $50 plus processing fees. So all said and done should come out to around $54.08 if you are just asking for a standalone retailer. Again, processor, there is no additional charge for adding these certificates. All right. So that was a high level view of all of the options for retailing and distribution that are going to be in there. I'm going to now go over what our website looks like. This is the current Office of Medical Cannabis Control and Regulation website. You can see here there is a hemp products program tab, and this will give you all of the information that we are currently that we have online. So this is all of the new updates. You'll see there was a press release, the info session that's today, brief blurb about the registration process. That's the hemp email if you have any questions, and a subscription link. So if you want to subscribe, we do recommend you subscribe for email updates, any new guidance that we provide, or any new info sessions that we are going to do. They're all going to be blasted out to that subscription service. And so if you want real-time updates, that's where to go and get them. On the right side here, you'll see all of our guidance and information, including FAQs for retailer and distributors, for consumers, any communication to the industry. You'll see here, this is where everything we've sent out so far. We sent out an initial email to all the registered subscribed people, just talking about the need to register and the change in law. There was a news release. Any other updates that we send or guidance materials will appear here. We also have links to the rules. These are the current program rules. If you want to know exactly what you are allowed to do as a processor or as a retailer right now, this is where you would find that. We also have the statute and the processor permit application. This is where, when the portal goes live, you'll see a link over here for retailer and distributor portal. Again, we will let you know well in advance when that's coming. Guidance documents, file a product complaint, file a hemp product adverse event, information on the Hawaii Hemp Task Force. So just briefly, I am going to go over these high-level questions about, this is basically an FAQ for whatever, for all the information that a retailer and distributor needs to know. And the first, kind of important, the types of product that can be sold in Hawaii. These are currently limited to topical, which is applied to the skin or hair. You can also have an edible hemp in only these forms. So hemp edibles can only be gummies, tablets, capsules, powders, soft gels, gel caps, oil-based tinctures, and beverages. There's a list of products that are prohibited. This is by form. So you cannot sell the form of hemp products here. that are prohibited, which includes hemp flower that's regardless of the level of THC or THCA in the hemp flower. You can't sell smokable hemp or hemp flower. Vape cartridges, concentrates, anything, again, regardless of the THC content, you cannot sell any vapes or concentrates. Foods purporting to contain cannabinoids like CBD. So you can't have a chocolate bar with CBD in it. You can't have baked goods with CBD in it. You can have the edible forms here, but other than that, you're not allowed to sell them. Now, this does include the caveat that if it is generally recognized as safe by the FDA, which currently is only hemp seeds, if you wanted to, like they sell hemp seeds at Costco or wellness stores, that kind of thing to eat, then that is permissible. But other than that, if you have a food that has cannabinoids in it, you cannot sell that in Hawaii. And then obviously anything that is greater than the THC restrictions or is above 0.3%. Very importantly, also, you cannot sell any product that contains artificial or synthetic cannabinoids. This includes cannabinoids like delta-8 THC, THCO, CBN, all created from, even if it's created from hemp-derived cannabinoids like CBD. If you take CBD and convert it into a different cannabinoid, you cannot put that into the product. Okay, so again, high level here, starting January 2026, who needs to get a certificate of registration? Everyone selling hemp-derived products needs a certificate of registration if you are selling gummies, all the edibles, and beverages. So this is retailers, distributors, and online sellers. This does not include topicals or tinctures. There was a explicit carve out, so you can sell tinctures and you can sell topicals without being registered. You still have to age gate them. So any tincture that you sell has to be, you have to be compliant with our rules, and you can only sell them to people 21 and older, but you do not have to register if you're just selling tinctures. If you're selling tinctures and gummies, do have to register. Okay, also important, the THC limits to all of these products. This is something we're going to get a lot of questions on, and I fully understand that. This is where you find an easily digestible list of all of the THC requirements. So currently for gummies, tablets, capsules, powders, soft gels, and gel caps, maximum of 1 milligram total THC per serving. One serving size is one gummy. So one gummy can have up to 1 milligram of THC, but you can't have a gummy with multiple servings that you split. Total 5 milligrams THC per container. So you can have 5 gummies in a container. Each gummy has 1 milligram of THC. That's the cap. Cannot contain any artificially or synthetically derived cannabinoids. Cannot contain alcohol, kava, caffeine, nicotine, other prohibited ingredients. Has to be lab tested, has to have proper labeling, has to be in child-resistant packaging. Greg will go over later what the labeling looks like and more, a little more detail on all the product restrictions. For beverages, so these are most of the edibles. For a beverage, total THC must be, you can have a maximum of 0.5 milligrams of THC per container. Your container has to be 6 to 12 fluid ounces. So you can have a 12-ounce can with CBD in it. It can't have more than 0.5 milligrams of total THC. Again, cannot contain artificially or synthetically derived cannabinoids. So delta-8 that's been converted from CBD, you cannot put into a drink. It can't contain alcohol, kava, caffeine, nicotine, or other prohibited ingredients. Has to be lab tested, has to be properly labeled. If you are selling tinctures, you will want to check this out. Restricted to consumers 21 or older. Total THC So this is a 1 ounce tincture. So these are the 1 ounce tincture bottles with the dropper. This is not a 1 ounce drink. This isn't a little 5-hour energy shot. This is a tincture in the traditional sense of what we consider tincture. You can have up to 0.3%, so you can do full spectrum tinctures. You can only sell them to consumers 21 or older. They must be an oil-based product, so not a liquid product that can't contain artificially or synthetically derived cannabinoids. It can't have added flavors that are not from cannabinoids. You can't have sweeteners, alcohol, kava, caffeine, nicotine, and other prohibited ingredients. Again, lab test, labeling, child resistant. Topical, same thing. A certificate of registration is not required for a topical. The THC has to be less than 0.3% by weight. No artificial or synthetic derived cannabinoids. No alcohol, kava, caffeine, nicotine. Lab tested and proper labeling. So this is an overview of what we went over before. If you want to be a retailer, a distributor, or an online seller, cost is $50 for 5 years. And again, if you are a processor that already has a permit, you do not have a cost. You can get all of these things for free for the life of your permit. We have information about enforcement actions. If you don't get certified, then we will send you warning letters, cease and desist letters. There can be fines up to $10,000 for each offense, embargo of product, seizure and destruction of product. If you do have a certificate of registration, we will do inspections to make sure you are selling compliant products. And then the same kind of enforcement action can be taken against you if you are selling non-compliant things, and we can suspend your certificate of registration. Again, cannot sell any artificial or synthetically derived cannabinoids. That includes Delta-8 that has been converted from CBD. You can sell products that have been made in other states. So if you are an online seller in another state and want to sell directly to a consumer in Hawaii, you can do that. You have to have a certificate of registration. All of your products that you sell in Hawaii must meet all of the requirements, including testing. We have high testing standards, so make sure that you have your testing in order, make sure you have a COA, make sure the labeling is correct, make sure that all of the THC limits are complied with. So you cannot sell a 5 milligram THC beverage in Hawaii just because you are from another state. You have to comply with all of our statutory and regulatory requirements. There's some information here on if you are a processor, what actually you need to do. So if you repackage gummies that you buy in bulk, you can buy CBD gummies, you can repackage them. You still need a processor permit to do that. You can relabel manufactured hemp products that you buy in bulk. You still need a processing permit to do that. Any labeling, any relabeling, any packaging, and any repackaging. This goes to the generally recognized as safe products. If you have hemp seed protein, or hemp seed oil, that is not cannabinoid extract oil, that's hemp seed oil, oil that's cold pressed from the seed of hemp. You don't need a registration for that. That is considered a food product. You still have to follow all of the DOH Food Safety Branch requirements. You can look up that at these links here. There are additional resources on the website. We list all of the labeling guidance. We are going to go over those in a second. And if you need to contact us on further questions, you can contact us at doh.hemp@doh.hawaii.gov. That is the basics of the FAQ. And so now I am going to hand it over to Greg, and Greg will go over in more in depth some of the guidance documents that we have.
Great, thanks, Andrew. I'm going to go back to the landing page. I'll be sharing here in a second. So as Andrew just went through, this is our landing page for our hemp program. On the right-hand side, he went through the FAQs. There's a consumer FAQ, et cetera. If you scroll down a little bit, there's a guidance documents and educational information. I'll click on that. And there's three primary resources at the moment. One is going to be a summary of our existing administrative rules that are in effect now. That's a PDF document that you can view online. You can also download it. We're going to review that briefly. Second one here is information for hemp processors. So if you're interested in becoming a hemp processor, there's kind of a summary document on if you're doing the following activities. This is you would be considered a hemp processor. You need to get a permit from our office. And then further down, we have three different labeling guides. The first two are for edible and topicals, and the last one is for crude extract. Crude extract is not a retail product. That is for only hemp processors, but it's available for hemp processors to access and get that information. So let me scroll up to the top. We'll click on the PDF link. So again, this is a summary. This is online. It's been up for almost a year now. Just a high-level summary, but a little bit more in depth than the FAQ. There's a table of contents. We have pages dedicated to each product category. Again, similar to the FAQ, but with a little bit more information for you. And just a disclaimer, this is not a replacement for the rules. This is just provided for industry and the public. We have a summary of key changes to the rules. So you can begin to look at the high-level summary from the most recent rule revisions. We did update in this oil-based tincture section here, the most recent changes that were just signed into law in July, which bumped up the total THC that's max allowed in an oil-based tincture from 2.5 to 3, and then the corresponding changes, and it lowered it from 2 fluid ounces to a maximum of 1 fluid ounce in that oil-based tincture. So that's been updated. Again, summary of key changes. But what I want to move on to is each section, this would be for the retailers and distributors that are selling finished manufactured hemp products. We created a page. So this would be for back in December of this year, gummies were added. So again, it gives you concise information on the key areas for manufacturing and packaging and labeling of a gummy with the THC limits. We also have the same thing for beverages. As well as oil-based tinctures. And then tablets, capsules, powders, soft gels, and gel caps. And then the non-edible form that is allowed are the topicals. So hopefully this information just will give you a little bit more clarity dedicated to each product category of products that are allowed for sale in Hawaii. There is a section, again, this is for the processors that allows for products that are allowed for sale outside the state. And again, this is for the processors and both manufactured hemp products when you're using them as ingredients. So any of you that are processors online, definitely something to consider. At the end here, we have a comprehensive list of the prohibitions which are in our rules. So it lays out everything that is currently prohibited. So with that, we're going to go back to the landing page. I want to quickly go over PDF document for processors. Here it is. You should see this loaded. From left to right, A through E, there's 5 pathways. So if you're working with hemp biomass to make like a tincture or a topical, this isn't meant to encompass everything you can make, but just visually give you an idea. If your starting material is biomass and you want to make a finished product, you'll need a permit. B, if you're starting with biomass and you want to make crude, you'll need a hemp processor permit. If you're starting with crude and you want to make a finished product, you'll need a permit. If you are starting with a manufactured hemp product as an ingredient, say CBD isolate, and you want to use that CBD isolate to make an oil-based tincture or a topical or a gummy, you'll need a permit. And any packaging or labeling activity. So if someone else is making your product and they're providing it to you in bulk and you're repackaging it, relabeling it, you will need a permit. If you are just getting the individual bottles already ready to go and just adding labels, you will also need to get a permit and go through all the testing and packaging requirements. The lower portion of the document just goes over some of the facility criteria where the processing will occur and some of the things to consider when you're starting your business up, how you're going to extract, who you may, what other DOH agencies you may need to consult with. If you want to share space in a food hub or commercial kitchen to make these products, you're going to need to reach out to food safety branch to ensure that that will be allowed in a commercial kitchen where food is being made. And then the last document we just want to highlight here is our edible manufactured hemp product, the label and packaging requirements. There's also one dedicated for topicals. So this was a first initially intended for our in-house staff as like a field guide. And as it evolved, we felt this was going to be useful for retailers, distributors, as well as, of course, hemp processors. So there's 2 pages here. It takes you from top down, the information that will need to be on the label and the corresponding section of the rules and statute that requires it. Again, this is just a summary. This isn't meant to replace the rules or the statute, but product name, net weight, the ingredient statement, who's responsible, directions for use, various warning statements or statements of who the product can be sold to, age gating. An important one is that we do require a QR code or a website that displays the laboratory results for compliance in Hawaii. So you need to, not just the cannabinoid testing, but the cannabinoid testing as well as the contaminant testing that's required by the state of Hawaii, and it's specific to Hawaii. And there's 2 pages of this information. It walks you through it. The package requirements is essentially making sure you're using packaging that won't negatively impact the quality or safety of the contents, and that if it's an edible that it's sold in multiple servings like gummies, that you need to use child-resistant special packaging. So we hope this information will be useful for retailers that are buying from processors in the state, as well as if you're buying from out of the state and you're selling in the state, you can do your due diligence and review the labels of the products that you're interested in buying. So Andrew, with that, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Okay, so that basically wraps up the information that we are going to present. We can move on to questions. Again, just so everybody knows, this is high-level information, just to get everybody familiar with what to look for. We are going to be issuing more guidance as we develop it. We are currently drafting the rules also, and so we're going to be doing outreach to the industry to get feedback on the draft rules before they go live, so that we can kind of iron out any issues that you folks on the industry side might see before we actually implement the rules. But with that being said, I think we can move on to the Q&A. So again, if you have any questions on what is being discussed now or what you've read before, feel free to enter them into the Q&A and we can address them now. We got some questions in advance, so I'll just go through some of that. The first is, will hemp cultivation be considered regular agriculture? So we do not, at DOH, we do not regulate the cultivation side. The cultivation side is USDA. You do need a USDA license to cultivate hemp in the state. You have to follow all of their requirements, whatever they may be, and the testing requirements prior to harvest. After harvest is where our authority kicks in. And so as far as hemp's status as an agricultural commodity, I think that would be a legislative change that would need to happen. But we're more than welcome, we'll weigh in if we need to on that also. The second question is it 100% permissible to use hempcrete blocks made of lime and crushed here to create stackable blocks for walls of residential? So again, DOH does not regulate the industrial side of things. So you would have to go to whoever regulates the industrial aspect. For this specific question, I would assume that's handled under the permitting process. I don't know specifically though, so just make sure whoever you're working with on the building permit side is aware of what you're doing, and if there are other requirements you need to meet, track those down. We don't really have any information on that. Another question was, will testing be required for retailers? How will compliance be monitored? How will OMCCR and retailers ensure patient safety? Great question. Every product that is sold in Hawaii to a consumer or to retailers needs to be tested to the standards that we've outlined. The standards that we created around hemp products are consistent with the standards that we have for medical cannabis products. So those are, to the best of our knowledge, the standards that you would have to meet in order to sell a hemp product in Hawaii. That's every retailer, whether you're online selling out-of-state product or a physical location and you're a processor here that wants to sell your product or distribute your product, it all has to be tested in the final form, in the packaging, to make sure that it meets those standards. We do require that you have a COA for that specific product, not for a batch that was 2 years ago, not for a R&D batch, but for that product that you are selling, and that COA has to be included on your labeling for consumer transparency. And then as far as our side, we can, one, check the labels, do inspections, make sure that everything being sold is compliant. And then we also have the authority at least to collect samples and to make sure that what you're selling is consistent with what is on your COA. Another question is, address how local retailers as well as local and mainland distributors may participate in this program. I think we covered that pretty well. When we have the portal up and running, we will let everybody know through the subscription email service. You can go to the portal and sign up. The portal, the law probably goes into effect in January 1, 2026. The portal will likely be open early January. And so we are going to allow a grace period for everyone to sign up. We realize that you don't want, to rub into that. And so as we get closer and we know for sure when the portal will be open, we'll communicate how long you have in order to sign up and register. But, bottom line is communicate with us. If you are trying to comply, we want you to comply. So we're not going to be out there knocking on doors if you are trying to register and just haven't done it correctly. If you work with us, we will work with you. What information and/or documents are needed for registration? We covered that already with going through everything. Again, we're trying to make this as simple as possible. The idea is to get everyone that wants to comply onto the registry and onto the list, and we'll put the list on the website so the consumers know where they can go to buy compliant product. Do everything above board. So if you do, again, want to comply, then work with us and we will figure out what you need in order to get on the registry and be compliant. And I think that is it for the three. There was another question, I think, on the modes and THC levels. So again, we're not really addressing that right now. The um, the next step, the next thing that we are implementing is this registry. Once we have the registry up and running and all the folks that are that want to comply are on the list and complying, then we can talk about the forms and the cannabinoid levels. So I think that was it for the uh, pre questions. Is there anything that was entered into the chat while we were talking?
Hi, Andrew. Yes, there were several questions pertaining to this session. I tried my best to summarize what I could, and I apologize if I think some you may have answered already. First one is for businesses who don't register, what enforcement action does DOH or OMCCR plan to perform?
Sure, great question. I mean, enforcement in general is something we should, I think we touched base on a little bit, but the idea is if you aren't registered, then we will send you a cease and desist. There's authority for other agencies to also send you a cease and desist. Um, it can become a criminal nuisance abatement issue and be enforced through that law. And it also is a violation of the Consumer Protection Act to sell if you are not registered. So there are various avenues. Um, Basically, expect a cease and desist letter on some level and fine for trying to sell without being registered. That was made specifically to focus on the folks that are trying to comply and make it easier to identify the people that are not even trying to comply. And then that's going to be the first round of enforcement. So our folks that aren't registered at all are selling whatever they want to sell. That from a consumer protection standpoint is, not, it's just not a safe thing to be selling. Um, a lot of these products that are synthetic and created and high potency. So that is the first level of enforcement that we are looking at doing, and it's basically through, just like any other industry, through fines and through cease and desist letters. That does include online sellers from out of state. We've already reached out to a bunch of them. We're going to be, as part of this education effort, um, a lot of the places have, we can't sell these products in specific states, and our goal is to get on that list of states that you can't sell.
Another question for a retailer participating in multiple events throughout the year, do we need to apply for an event license each time we participate?
Yeah, so great question. I mean, I think this will be addressed a little more completely in guidance and in the rules that we put out. But say you are in you want to sell at a weekly farmer's market, and that farmer's market is every single week on Thursday, then you would only need to register for that farmer's market. If it's a one-time event, if it's made in Hawaii or you're doing a pop-up somewhere, that would be a temporary event. But the recurring events, even if it's like a First Friday event or something like that, you would need to register once for, and then that would be for 5 years.
Thanks, Andrew. Another question for hemp retailers selling hemp topicals, can we sell to users under 21 years of age?
Great question. So I think, this will be more fully developed in rules. Also, we don't have an age gating in the current rules or the current laws. But based on industry feedback, I think we are going to require over 21 for any hemp derived cannabinoid product. And but that is a discussion that we're willing to have. Greg, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I did answer that. I just answered it a moment ago. There's an existing labeling requirement for all manufactured hemp products. that the product can't be sold to a consumer under the age of 21. The only thing that's been added to that legislatively was in this most recent session that oil-based tinctures, the retailer must card essentially anyone who I think appears 27 years of age or younger. So there's just another level of age gating with respect to checking IDs for oil-based tinctures. But the existing current rules have always required that the package be labeled not for sale to consumers under 21, including topicals.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was talking more of the ID checks, but the labeling has always been there. So the intention is to only sell it to 21 up, regardless of what you're selling.
I have a few more. Can an entity still sell to a consumer if the online entity exists outside of the state of Hawaii?
Yes, you can sell directly to a consumer. You do have to register with us, and you can only sell products that are legal in Hawaii. So they have to meet all of the testing requirements. They have to meet all of the THC limitations, all of the packaging requirements and labeling, which includes the like standard disclaimers and health warnings.
Another one. As a retailer, do we need to enter every specific items we sell into the system? For example, a brand, a type, a size, or just general categories?
So for the application right now, it is just general categories, what you intend to sell. We don't have a specific product registration system. Other states do that, and we might move to that at some point. But right now, it would only be the general category that to get the registration. Now we will have record keeping requirements, so you do have to keep records of where you buy everything and the things that you are buying and the things that you are selling ultimately to the consumer, just to make sure that we have traceback ability and we can go down the line of a supply chain if there's an issue and issue recalls, things like that. So in the record keeping, there will be certain requirements like that. As far as applying for a registration, there is not right now.
Great. Will there be a new or contemporary process for hemp processors to register or renew?
Yes,
And
so that will be in the actual processor portal. So as you are applying for a processor permit, you will then, after you're done entering all that information, have the option to add a registration for retail or distribution or a website. Those are all free of charge. You get one each. You can also add standalone ones for $50 extra. So if you have a retail location, but you want to do a pop-up somewhere, you would need to register for that. If you wanted a second location, you would have to register for that. But that will all be in your portal, and we're just trying to make it as simple as possible. If you are a processor, we want you to be able to actually sell and distribute the product that you're making.
I have one last question here. I'm not quite sure what it's asking, but it's pertaining to the 21 and over. They're asking if anyone under 21 can still use hemp topicals if they purchase it.
So same thing. I mean, the intention is to not sell to anyone that is under 21. The tinctures specifically in the law have a mechanism for if you are under 21 with a tincture, it can be, there are fines involved. It's similar to alcohol. But that doesn't exist in the topicals. But again, the intention is if you're under 21, you should not be using this. If you do have a medical reason that you should be using some kind of tincture or some kind of hemp-derived cannabinoid or cannabinoids in general, then you should sign up and register as a medical cannabis patient and go that route and talk to your doctor about how to put all that into your care plan.
I don't have any other questions listed.
All right. Great. Well, if anyone has questions, if they think of them later, or if they weren't addressed in as completely as you need them to be, feel free to email us. We will get back to you. Again, the idea here is we want everyone to know what's coming. We want you to know how to comply. It is a complicated area. We're here to try to clarify things as much as we possibly can. We do want to support the industry and make sure that it is viable, also compliant, and as safe as we can possibly make it. So, closing remarks, what you should do now, if you are a retailer and a distributor currently selling in Hawaii, in preparation for this, you should review all of your inventory, what you are currently selling in Hawaii, and make sure that it complies with the current law. So that is all of the things we went over today, the THC limits, the packaging, the labeling, the product forms. So make sure that everything you're selling is compliant with the current law, and meet all of our DOH regulations. Look at all of the guidance documents that we went over today. Get all your information in order, where you want to be selling, all the things you need to process the application rather quickly. And then also subscribe on the link below for program updates. We will send, again, any updates that we have, any guidance that we come up with, any draft rules, any new info sessions, all of that will be sent out to everyone that subscribes. We'll also be posting them on the website if you don't want to subscribe. With that, we got out a couple minutes early, so thank you everyone for joining us. If you have any specific questions, please email doh.hemp@doh.hawaii.gov, and we will be sure to get back to you. Look forward to hearing from everybody. Thank you very much for coming and taking the time to be here.